Hello, KW agents. This video, we're going to go through the 3 steps to start to use DocuSign with your business to make sure that you're up to speed before the December 12th deadline. So the first thing is we're going to log into Command. So we're going to log into Command by going to agent.kw.com, and then that's going to take you to your dashboard in Command. The first step to be able to use the opportunities in the DocuSign platform is we have to have someone entered as a contact. So we have to make sure that we have the buyer or the seller contact information entered into Command. So to do that, once we've logged into the Command dashboard, we're going to see all of the different options for Command over on the left-hand side of the screen. If you click on the red box at the top, that actually opens up so you can read everything. So we're going to go into the contact section, which is this one right here with the 2 people next to it. So once we click on contacts, it's going to take us into all of our contacts. So if we need to add a new contact, we're going to click on the button at the top right that says add contact. So we're going to click on that, fill in as much information as we know about the contact. So we're going to say that this is video contact. We're going to say the email address is, it's okay, we'll update this, and then we'll do a phone number. Now, something really cool that you can do is if we know that we're going to be starting an opportunity with this contact, so we know that they are going to be a buyer or seller that we want to add an opportunity for, we can check the box right next to add to sales pipeline. And once we do that, you'll see that when we create the contact, it's going to jump us right over into the opportunities. We can add tags to a contact. So maybe we'll say that this is a buyer, and then maybe we'll say that this is also they came from an open house. So we'll go in and add those tags to the contact, and then we might want to add some more information. So we'll click on add more information, then we get these 4 options down here. So we can add additional contact information. So that might be their preferred method of being contacted, additional email addresses, additional phone numbers, and then their home address. So we'll do a home address. You'll see once we start to type, it pulls from Google. So we just need to drop down and choose one of these options that come up. We can add social media profiles as well if we know that. Under the About section, we can add their legal name, a description of the contact. If we know their birthday, home anniversary, we can also add that. And then any relationship. So this would be the relationship that maybe they have with another contact in your database. So maybe spouse, father, mother, you'll see there's all these options. So we can choose that. We can also add work information if we know that. Sales pipeline, we can pull in the lead source if they're a capture, meaning a lead capture contact, or if they are connected. So think of that as more like sphere of influence. And then we can add custom details down here. I'm just going to take this email out because I know I already have that email in there. So I'm just going to take that out. And then we're just going to hit create at the bottom. And so then it creates that contact. And then you'll see it takes us right into the opportunities because I said that I wanted to create an opportunity or I wanted to add this contact to my sales pipeline. So that was the first step, how to create a contact. Now we're going to talk about the second step, which is how to create an opportunity. So you'll see it's jumped me into opportunities because I've created that contact. If you were coming in separately and you hadn't created a contact and you needed to go into opportunities, you would do the same thing, log into Command, scroll all the way down until you see the little hand shaking, and we've got opportunities right next to that. And then this is our opportunities page where we've got all of our potential buyers and sellers. So you'll see we've got listings here. We've got everything in the phases that they might be under, whether we're cultivating them, appointment, active, under contract, or closed. Then we've got the same thing down here for buyers. And then over here on the right, we've got the potential gross commission income that I'm making, followed by the probable income. So these numbers are going to start to change based off of your conversion ratios. So the more that you can feed this, the more accurate these are going to become for you. You've got two ways of viewing your opportunities. You've got it this way where we're looking at it really as a true pipeline. Once you start to have a lot of opportunities and you're needing to search for them, you're probably going to want to come up here to all opportunities. That's going to show you your opportunities in a list view. And then we can come up here and search by address, the opportunity name, the assignee, that would be if you were on a team, and then also the contact name. So I'm going to go back to where I was in my pipeline just by clicking on my name up here. Once I get into that, and I want to create a new opportunity. So now this person is saying we're thinking of buying a house or selling a house, and I need to create an opportunity. I'm going to do the same thing. Look for that bluish greenish button. Here it's at the top right. We're going to choose create opportunity. And then we're just going to enter as much information as we know about this opportunity. So we're going to say this is a listing. Although under opportunity type, it's a drop-down menu. We can choose if it's a listing, a buyer, a landlord, or a tenant. I'm going to say it's a listing. Now the client has to be a contact in my command for me to add them to an opportunity. That's why the first step is always to add that contact. So we're going to choose this person as the contact. We can add an additional seller over here if we needed to. Underneath that, we're going to give this opportunity a name, which should always be the address if you know it. If we don't know it yet, if it's a buyer, we can come back in later and we can change that. So we're going to say this is 1234 Test Street. We can also give an opportunity custom tags. You might want to know if this was a luxury listing, if it was a listing that maybe came from your sphere. If we're looking at buyers, we might want to know what type of financing, perhaps they're a first-time home buyer. So those can be customized as well. And then we're going to put in the estimated closing date. We're going to say these people want to move quick. So we'll say February 5th is going to be the closing date. And then the estimated listing price, we'll just make it easy, 100,000. Commission rate, this is to you, 3%. And then we've got phases. So are we cultivating it? Are we almost to the appointment phase? Is it an active listing? We're going to say that we're working on setting up the listing appointment. So we'll choose listing appointment. And then as far as the stages underneath that, we'll say that we're working on scheduling that listing appointment. Once we've entered all the details we need for the opportunity, we're just going to choose create opportunity. This now takes us almost into like the back section of the opportunity. So you'll see we've got these details here. So this is where I put in the opportunity name. If we needed to make any changes here, we could go in and just click on the little pencil right here, and then we can make any edits that we need to. Now I want to go back a little bit. So if I want to go back into my opportunities, I can just click on sales pipeline right here. So we're saying that we entered this and it was a listing in the appointment phase. So if I want to take a look at what I have in my different phases, I can click, there's basically links behind any of these buttons. So if I click right here under the appointment, I'll see that I go into all the stages that I have directly underneath that phase, and it shows me everything that I have. Let's see. Okay, so when I go into my appointment phases in the listing, I've got all of my listings that I have listed here that I'm scheduling. So let's say that the one that we're creating right now, and you'll see I've got the tags, I've got the name of the opportunity, the contact associated with it, when it's closing, and how much money I'm potentially making. Let's say that we scheduled the listing appointment and then we kept the listing appointment. These are all just cards that you can take and drag into different stages and then just release them. And then let's say that it's now moving into an active phase. I can take this and just pull it up, and you'll see I start to see those lines. Click on that, and then you'll get a quick confirmation that the opportunity has been updated. So then I can look into my active listings, and I've got it right over here. So I can just continue to move it down wherever I need it to be. So I know that we're in an active under negotiations, but let's say that we were ready to actually go in and do paperwork for this now. So now we're going to get into the portion where we use DocuSign. So to get into this, we're going to just go into, we'll go out just a little bit. To get into the specific opportunity where we're saying now I'm ready to maybe fill out a listing agreement or perhaps a sales contract, I'm essentially ready to start the transaction. I'm going to get into that by clicking into any of these phases here to be able to see the opportunities there. So let's say this is the one, the fake one that we've created that I'm ready to do paperwork for. All I'm going to do is click on the name of the opportunity, which again should be the address. And then you'll see this takes us back into that details section. I want to go to the next section right here, which is documents. So we're going to click on documents. And then you'll see once you go into documents, this is where you'll actually do the compliance portion, which we'll come back to. Once I go into documents, over here I've got start a transaction, or some of you might have go to transaction. So if I click on start a transaction, I'm going to have an option of DocuSign. That's where I want to go to be able to create what we call a room and then add all the documents to it. So once I choose DocuSign, I'm going to get a little box right here that says go to transaction. It's going to require that I sign in with my DocuSign credentials. I'm going to enter that information. Then that's going to take me into my rooms account. So if you're familiar with .loop, you can think of rooms as the same thing as a loop. It's what we're going to create for each transaction. So across the top of the room, I've got these different options here. So I've got details, which is what we'll start with. I've got documents, which is where I'm going to add the documents. I've got people, which we'll talk about, but you won't use this really often. And then I've got envelopes, which is just how we're going to send the documents for e-signatures. So I'm going to start and I'm just going to move left to right. So I'm going to go into the details section first. If I click on details, it's going to show me all kinds of details that I might want to enter about this transaction. Now, anytime that you're in DocuSign, if you just take a look up here at the top right, you're going to have these action item buttons. That's everything that you can do. So if I knew details that I wanted to enter, all I would do is click the edit button, and then you'll see I'm going to say, we'll go down here, we'll enter the address at Test Street, we'll say it's in Orlando, and then we'll give it a zip code of 32801. State is Florida. So that's all that I'm going to fill in just for the sake of time. But we could put in as much as we know. So the listing date, expiration date, when we get into offers, we would enter that information, closing details, additional information, property details. Now, something really important is over here, we need to make sure that we're adding the sellers or the buyers or the other agents, depending on who is playing what roles in the transaction. So if you're familiar with .loop, this is the same as when we were adding either buyers or sellers and we were assigning them a role. So I'll add myself as the seller, and all I really need to enter is my email address. You can enter as much details as you know, but it's really important that you're adding these information, or these details rather, because that's how the system knows, okay, this is the seller, and they're able to initial and sign everywhere. So again, details, we're going to enter as much as we know, then it's going to flow into every single document in the transaction. Then we're going to enter seller information, buyer information, or whoever you need to add to the transaction. Once we've made those edits, we've added the information, we're just going to hit save at the bottom, and then it gives you a quick confirmation that the room has been updated. So then we're going to go into where we add the documents. So that's the next section right here. Same thing, we're going to look for those buttons right up here at the top, and we want to add documents. So once we click on add, we've got a couple options. We can add from our computer. That would be if you had a PDF or something that you wanted to upload into the room. We can also add from Dropbox, Google Drive, or Box, or zip forms if you use those. But we're going to talk about our DocuSign forms. So think of these as your templates. So if you're familiar with .loop, this is where we created templates for you on the Market Center side. We've done the same thing and then some in DocuSign Forms. So we're going to click on DocuSign Forms. If this is your first time visiting this, it's going to ask for your NRDS number. That's just your MLS ID. So go ahead and enter that and hit save. And then we've got two options. So we can add forms either from the library or from the group. Forms library is going to give you access to all of the Florida Association of Realtor forms, as well as the seller MLS forms. So you can use that. However, best practice is really going to be able to use the group. So if you think of yourself, we're with the LaHoop group, you're going to choose group. And then you're going to have the specific form groups for your market center. So you'll see, you'll only have the market center that you're out of. I've got all three. So if you were out of the parks and you needed a listing side for a residential, we would just click on this one. And then it comes up with the forms that we might need. And instead of you getting all the forms and having to remove what you don't need, we can just go in and decide which forms we do need. So maybe we would want the listing agreement, seller's property disclosure, and then we'll just keep it with 2 for now. You can pick those forms. Then we're just going to click add. Then it tells you again, successfully added documents to the room. And then we'll see when we're looking at the room now, we've got the 2 documents here. So this is where you would go in and fill out the documents. So again, everything that you entered in the details section would automatically flow into all the documents. However, we still need to go in and prepare the documents and make sure we fill them out. So just like any other e-signature or transaction platform that you're used to using, anything is something that you can go in and type on, make any changes, check any boxes, whatever you need to do, right? So we would go through, I'm not going to go page by page, but we would go in and fill in all of this. We want to get it 100% ready for it to be shared with whoever our customer is, whether it's the buyer or the seller. Once we've done all those changes, we would just hit save and close and move into the next document and fill everything out. So now we're going to move into the people section. Now it's important to know that under the details section, if we added the buyer or the seller there, we really don't need to even go into the people section here. So I want you to think of the people section. You're adding people to the room that you want to give full access to all of the documents. So really the only examples of that would be someone that was maybe on your team, if you have a transaction coordinator, or if you're working with a coach or a mentor. Those would be the people that you would want to invite to the room, not the other agent, not buyers, not sellers. So for a lot of you, we're actually going to skip right over the people section, and we would have added the sellers or buyers in the details section. So again, people is just for coaches, mentors, transaction coordinators, or perhaps people on your team. So now we're going to go in and we're going to prepare the documents to be sent. So that's an envelope. So just think of that as it's basically an electronic envelope that you are sending to someone. So we're going to click on envelope. We've got those 3 little action buttons right here. We're going to choose new. And then I can name the envelope. So it's just please DocuSign. We'll leave it as that. And then I'm going to decide what documents I want to add to the envelope. So I'm going to choose that by clicking on room docs, because these are the docs in the room that I've 100% filled out. So maybe I want to send the listing agreement, and I also want to send the seller's property disclosure. I'm going to choose add selected. Then it shows me the documents that I've got there. And then I'm going to decide who I want to add to this envelope. So I'm going to just check right here where it says add recipient. And then what you're always going to want to use for your buyers or your sellers are those pre-tagged roles. So if I click on pre-tagged roles, a box pops up and I can say, okay, I want to send this to seller 1, and that person is this person, Sydney. And maybe I want to send it to the buyer as well. I'm going to say that that is a different one. And so I can go through and decide who I need to add this to, and then just choose add selected. So then it pops up and I've got seller 1 and I've got buyer 1. Now right here where I've got a 1 and a 1, that means that the second I hit send, it's going to be delivered to the seller and the buyer at the exact same time. So there's times where that's okay, but there's also times where I need this to go to the seller first, and then I want it to go to the buyer, but not until the seller has signed everything. So in that instance, right here where I've got the 1, I would just click on that and I would make that a 2. Then what the system does is it sends this immediately to the seller, holds on to and doesn't send anything to the buyer until the system receives the signed or initialed copy back from the seller and then sends that to the buyer. So you've got some really cool options what you can do here. We can see who the people are here, see the email addresses that we're sending them to. Over here, we can see what permissions we've given them. So we want to do that as needs to sign, but you've also got needs to view and receives a copy. And then specify recipient would be more for the other agent on the other side to decide who this is going to be sent to. We've also got options over here. You can add an access key. So if you have some clients that are a little bit nervous about e-signing, they're worried about security, this allows you to decide what the access code can be, and they have to have that access code to be able to access the forms. Just make sure you're not emailing that in here what the access code is. You would want to call them with that. And then we can also add a private message. So if we have a message that we need the seller to see, but not the buyer or the other options, we can do that. And then down here, we've got a message to all of the recipients. So the email subject is please DocuSign. That can be changed. Email message down here. If we wanted to hit save and close, that means we don't want to send it yet. I'm going to go into next because we're going to say that now we're actually ready to send this. And then that's just going to really give us one last final glance at all of the documents before we send them, just to make sure that everything is entered correctly and we're ready for it to be sent to sellers, buyers, or whoever we're sending it to. So then you'll see it takes us right into the documents. We can take a look at everything. If we needed to add additional signature, initial, or anything like that, we can drop those in there. So we can go through all the documents. Because I added that seller in the details section and I put them as the role of the seller, you'll see that they can initial right here. If we did the same thing as buyer, you would see that on any of the other forms, but this is the listing agreement. So then once we're ready to send this, we've got to send at the top. We've also got to send at the bottom. We're going to click on send, and then it's just going to give you a quick confirmation, and then it'll show you in your room that we're now waiting for others. So that's how you would use DocuSign. Now let's say that we've got the forms back from the buyer or back from the seller. We've got an executed listing agreement or perhaps an executed sales contract. Now we need to get that into command and we need to submit that to the compliance director. So for us to do that, we're going to go again back out. We're going to go into opportunities and we're going to go into that specific opportunity that we need to submit for compliance review. So this one is in negotiations. We're ready to submit some paperwork. We're going to click right on the opportunity. And we're going to do the same thing. We're going to go into documents, but this time we're not going to go into DocuSign. We're going to just go into the document section where we can then choose which documents we need to submit. So when we look at all the documents here, or the placeholders rather, the first one that we have is multiple docs. So that's going to be for agents that maybe take every single document that's part of a transaction and they put it in one file. So you've got maybe sales contracts, you've got addendums, disclosures, and you've got it all as one PDF. You can go in here and you can choose add file and upload it that way. We've also got little placeholders. So these are not the documents. This is just that once I have the listing agreement, this is where I'm going to put it. Now, the compliance director has actually done some really cool things for you. So anytime that you see a document that's underlined, if you click on it, it's going to pull that document up and it's going to be highlighted and written exactly what needs to go in that document. So this is also something your coach or mentor can help you with, but it's something nice to have just to make sure that you're filling everything out correctly. So let's say that I've got the exclusive right of sale listing agreement. It's signed by my sellers, and I need to get that into the Market Center for compliance review. I'm going to go into that specific opportunity, and then next to that document that I need to submit for review, I'm going to click on Add a File. And then I can choose manual. That would be if I had it saved as a PDF, but I'm going to say that they signed it through DocuSign. So I'm going to click on that button, and I'm going to choose the document that goes along with the one that I need to add. So I'm going to say it's the exclusive right of sale listing agreement. Click the Assign button. It'll tell you that the document was successfully added. You'll see now that it's changed. It no longer says Add a File. It's got the name of the document there. And then because I added a document, this button up here that was grayed out that says Submit to Market Center, I can now click on. So I'm just going to click on that button. It double checks, are you sure you want to submit this for review? And I'm going to choose submit. So again, that's how that you would submit documents for compliance once you've got executed documents. So if you have any questions or need help with anything, please know that all of your leadership is here. I hope this video is helpful. Please make sure you attend all of our workshops and classes so that we can get you set up with all of this. And I can't wait to see how you use Command to take command of your business. Thanks so much. Have a fantastic day.